Welcome back. Here's where you left off. Spoilers ahead for chapters 1 through 16 of Final Orbit by Chris Hatfield. So Final Orbit by Chris Hatfield. Really, Leonard, I think of this as book 3 in a series, even though technically each book is a standalone book. But Chris keeps on putting these characters back in these positions, and he kind of moves through the timeline, moving forward and backwards. So I think of this as book 3 in the series. What's your initial thoughts on this after we read the first few chapters here?
It is book 3 of the series. I did check. It is the whole series called The Apollo Murders. So this is the final orbit of the Apollo Murders series. So
it's interesting. I didn't see that on Goodreads. It just said final orbit. It didn't say. I mean, I get it. I'm happy about it. It's just interesting. I didn't realize he had classified it as a book series there.
Yeah, he did classify it like that. It's to be honest with you, I don't mind reading it that way because it's all the characters are the same. It's like reading the James Bond series. You know, there's different
they're using the last Apollo thing in this book, so hey,
this could be the last one.
So it's not a problem.
so there's a lot of things can happen between after this book, so it's pretty interesting. But let's move on here. So how this book started is actually kind of interesting because they actually started in China during the Great Wall when when Nixon went to China. Right, that's why you have to say so only Nixon can go to China. So it's kind of interesting how it actually started, and it's kind of funny though because Kaz, the main character, interacts with history as a outsider, as a in other words. For me, I'm not sure if you feel the same way too, Derek. That the last 3 books, it feels like you're reading a history. Right, but the main characters and all the events has actually happened parallel to the history, real.
Well, I mean, I think this is the thing that's really enjoyable about Chris's writing is that he incorporates real history and he modifies it so that it melds into his storyline. And honestly, some of the funnest parts of reading his book is, was that real or was that made up by Chris? And I'm pretty well versed in this sort of stuff. And even I sit back and I doubt myself here and there, especially when they talk about the Chinese launching and so forth. And I'm like, I don't remember if that's exactly when they put up anything at all for satellites or anything. I think that's made up. I haven't looked it up yet, but
it feels like it's made up. It feels like it's made up. Yeah.
It does. I enjoy. I mean, well, the docking between the U.S. and Soviets happened. That's a real thing. But the interesting thing is just how he melds that together. And I mean, Kaz is a made up character, and the other main person in this, I'll try to get it right, Savannah. Savannah, I can never pronounce it.
Savannah, the Russian cosmonaut.
She is like Kaz's bane of existence because every time she's involved, she gets the upper hand of the Americans, and it's like she's been around for a while.
That's the point, though. That was the key thing about this whole series, right? So it's a very interesting way of seeing history because, to be honest with you, when we read the first book, Apollo Murders, it was. That's the first thing I observed. The how history and his character sort of like intertwine as a parallel storyline, right? Of course, he's going to take some creative writing in this one, and I have no problems with that. We had this conversation so many times already regarding history versus entertainment, right?
Actually, we did, and this is a great example of somebody that does it really well. I think this is really well done, where he still honors the history of it, but he modifies it in a story arc, and I really like the way he does that.
Same here. Okay, let's actually go to the meeting and greedy about the first 16 chapters. So, what do you think overall so far? Do you like how this is going? Do you like how the Chinese is being introduced, how the Russians are being introduced, and how this infamous Chinese restaurant in Houston, Texas, is sort of becoming a distraction to Kaz?
Well, it's weird. I think obviously it's my thought that the Chinese restaurant will incorporate into the larger plot somehow. But Kaz is always like, let me go investigate this with a buddy. And then he's flying around on a plane. And I'm like, dude, you're investing a lot of time into this Chinese restaurant.
It was just me. Well, it's kind of funny because I'm not sure if you've been to any type of restaurant, doesn't matter what kind of restaurant it is. You go walk into a hallway. Next to you, there's a guy looking you up and down. If they like you, they press a button and the door opens. That's super sketchy. This is not a speakeasy here. If it's a speakeasy, then understandable here. But I've never been to a restaurant that there's a guy in front of you, had to look up and down on you to make sure that you're okay, then the door opens. That screams organized crime here, or a spy thing.
I know.
You know?
And he's like hanging out with Jimmy, having a burger, just staking out the place, just like after they get off of, just having the guys up in space. I'm like, just what we do in the evening, go grab burgers and surveil a Chinese restaurant. Oh, by the way, what's in the bag?
What, you never done that before? After work, you surveil a restaurant and be like, what's in those bags?
Just for something to do. That's a good time in the evening. Go with your buddy and surveil a restaurant.
Yeah, I do it all the time. Every Friday, you have nothing else to do.
I can't say I've ever done that. I can't say.
That's how they cool down before they go home. So it's normal.
The really high octane stuff. I mean, and if you're really having a rough night, you just fly overhead and surveil them. It's like,
why not?
Make sure they don't get your tail number.
It's a normal thing,
It's a normal thing.
It's a normal process of how you wind down. So, okay, let's talk about the what's actually happening in China here near the Mongolian area there at the Gobi Desert. What do you think is happening down there? What do you think the Chinese Chinese astronauts are doing? Like, this is the part I'm kind of getting interesting.
I mean, in general, when the Chinese have, trained their astronauts and so forth originally in real life, they did do this. Well, they do everything kind of semi-secretly. I think the idea here is that they're going to be going up and interfering with the Soviets and the Americans thing. I think that the nice thing about it is my hope. I don't know. Because Deke is up in the orbiter. So Deke's in this one, and then we have Savannah up there as well with her guys, and I think my hope is that as he moves out with the plot here, it's going to be them against the Chinese working together to overcome that. Because to be honest with you, if Savannah screws over the Americans one more time, I'm just going to be like, come on, Chris. The Americans are not that dumb, because every time
they are.
Go up against
well, Svetlana, by the way, to be honest with you, this is the Cold War. This is not like during the early 2000s. This is before. This is the Cold War here. There's just always this is a U.S.-Russia issue.
This is right? July 75, before the great years, before you and I were born.
So at the end of the day, I understand why the Russians is trying to screw over the Americans. And I understand that. It is history. It happens. Right, for us to say this is getting very, very annoying. This is Chris, you can't do this. I'm like, no, he can do this because this is real. This is exactly what happened, right? So if you say that no, the Russians if one more time the Russians screw the Americans, I'm just gonna get mad. I was like, congratulations, you should be mad since the 70s. Since the 60s and the 70s.
You make a point. It is the Cold War. It's all political stuff here. I think the part about the chapters I enjoyed was, and I don't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, the scientist guy who got kicked out of the U.S. and went to China, and he's like, okay, this is my revenge. You won't have me here. I'll give the Chinese a space program and get them up and running. And oddly enough, I feel like that could easily be like a thing that happened in real life, even though I was going to
say that this is that part of the book. If I was reading it, I'm like, wow, this just got real really fast. It just got real really, really fast. The only difference is, instead of Gestapo's trying to get people, it's actually a very polite government worker saying, yeah, I need you to leave right now. Can I get my stuff? Yeah, sure, go ahead, go get your stuff. Now it's like, you're illegal. We're just gonna like cover your face, throw you in a bus, and bring you somewhere that no one can find you. So that's the only difference, but it feels real life. Like that section is like, wow. I actually stopped. Like Derek, I stopped. I'm like, I reread it several times. I'm like, wow, this is real. So,
it's interesting because in a way I was sort of hoping with this book that Kaz would go up in some fashion. I mean, I don't think he's going to because of the disability he has and so forth. But there was a part of me that was hoping the plot line would put him up there to go against him, because they kind of have a back and forth all the time between the two of them. But the Chinese,
what she can do, she'll just poke the other eye. And she wins.
Yeah, exactly. The Chinese side of it is really interesting, and I don't know where it's going to go. I mean, I really don't know. I'm very curious. It's the part of the storyline that's making me very curious. I suspect that the Americans and them will hook up and connect the Soyuz capsule and everything. And I just wonder, what would the Chinese goal be here? Like to blow up both of them and get the two superpowers fighting each other or something secretly? Against each other? I don't know. I'm just curious. What do you think the plot line might be here?
That's a very good question, because I was thinking the same thing too, because like, what's going on with this one? What is the end goal for the Chinese space agency here? Are we looking at disrupting the handshake? If they do, it's too late now because they're already up there, right? Or is the second is to beat them up there and create something or some chaos? Like, we don't know yet, right? But I have a feeling that they're going to be a very, very... I have a feeling it's just going to be sabotage. I think that's what it is. Because remember, they did mention regarding the space shuttle program, right? So the book did mention that. So there's a good chance that'll be a thing. Or because they already introduced us to the Chinese restaurant. And I have a feeling that it's going to be a full-blown spy thing. It's going to be a very like a traditional Cold War spy thing in Houston or even in Florida. Something's going to happen big time that way, but I have a feeling that it's not going to be in a space thing. I think the Chinese storyline here is going to be a very, very in your face. A lot of questions. I have the feeling it would be like, WTF, what's going on here? Like, I'm very confused, but at the same time, you're like, I'm intrigued. Right.
Well, Chris is moving around the multiple different characters very quickly, giving a lot of information out. He spent a lot of time with the Chinese restaurant, which is kind of why we're crapping on it a bit.
I love it.
It's
great.
Lot of time. It's just like in the evening time, we're just going to stake out a place. That was kind of funny. It's sort of like Kaz is always like this guy who's just getting his nose in the places. It's kind of great.
When they were having dinner with a girlfriend, I was like, they're talking about the food. I'm like, oh man, I'm now got a craving for dim sum now. So I'm kind of like,
the wife, you gotta go get some food now.
Yeah, dude, every time we read a book, every time I read a book and there's food there, I'm kind of like, ooh, that sounds really good right now. So half my craving comes from reading or from TV shows, what they're eating. So I actually trying to figure out what they're eating. I'm like, I can replicate that, or I can go to this restaurant and have the same thing. But yeah, sorry, that's a little side note.
It's a little side note. Yeah, we have basically. I wonder. I think you're right that they're probably not going to focus in space as much. I don't think he's going to do that as much. I think it's some event's going to happen, and then it's going to focus back down on Earth with Kaz in this Chinese restaurant and whatever was in the bag. Like, it makes an interesting point. What's in the bag? Is it, the deal was already done. Money, they didn't exchange money. It was a good point. The guy's like, it should be enough. So it's probably a bomb or something like that, and what would they be using that for? Blow up Houston or something like that? I mean, seems like something Kaz would stumble upon.
Yeah. Again, it's the way the book is going to. I have a feeling whatever to put in that bag and whatever to put in that truck or the car or whatever, I have a feeling that's going to be very substantial enough that it can. I have a feeling this whole thing will be bringing the space industry back by 20 years or 10 years. Sorry. Because I have a feeling that's how big this is going to be, because we're looking at an established spy potential potential spy network in Houston. In the same time, too, you have the Chinese trying to go to space. In the same time, I have a feeling that the Chinese doesn't want the Americans and the Russians to work together, because that's going to create... Remember, this is the Cold War here. As soon as a superpower ending up teaming up with their ex-rivals, then that's going to cause imbalance, right? So that's going to be it's one of those things that's going to be very interesting because I don't know what I'm saying anymore, because I have a feeling it's going to be it's going to be something around that Chinese restaurant that's going to happen. That's my opinion.
I think we can agree that it's a great start to the book, eh? Join us next time for a special episode on January 2nd, 2026, where we review the book Attacking the Dragon, and a special interview with the author A. Mark Ross. Then join us for our regular episode, Final Orbit, chapters 17 to 31 by Chris Hatfield. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share a review. We love to hear from you. Send us an email at yourbookmarksinfo@gmail.com. Join us again right here where you left off.